One October day in 1917, said Jordan Baker that afternoon, sitting up very straight on a straight chair in the tea garden at the Plaza Hotel. I was walking along from one place to another on the sidewalks and half on the lawns. I was happier on the lawns because I had on shoes from England with rubber knobs on the soles that bit into the soft ground. I had on a new plaid shirt, also that blew a little in the wind, and whenever this happened, the red, white, and blue banners in front of all the houses stretched out stiff and said tut, 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 tut in a disapproving way. The largest of the banners and the largest of the lawns belonged to Daisy Faye's house. She was just 18, 2 years older than me, and by far the most popular of all the young girls in Louisville. She dressed in white and had little white roadster, and all day long the telephone rang in her house, and excited young officers from Camp Taylor demanded the privilege of monopolizing that night. Anyways, for an hour. When I came opposite her house that morning, her white roadster was beside the curb, and she was sitting in it with a lieutenant I had never seen before. They were so engrossed with each other that she didn't see me until I was 5 feet away. "Hello, Jordan," she called out unexpectedly. "Please come here." I was flattered that she wanted to speak to me because of all the older girls I admired her the most. She asked me if I was going to the Red Cross and make some bandages. I was. Well, then I would tell them that she couldn't come that day. The officer looked at Daisy while she was speaking, and in a way every young girl wants to be looked at sometimes, and because it seemed romantic to me, I have always remembered the incident ever since. His name was Jay Gatsby, and I didn't lay eyes on him again for over 4 years. Even after I'd met him on Long Island, I didn't realize it was the same man. That was 1917. By the next year, I had a few beaux myself, and I began to play in tournaments, so I didn't see Daisy very often. She went with slightly older crowd when she went with anyone at all. Wild rumors were circulating about her, how her mother had found her packing her bag one winter night to go to New York and say goodbye to a soldier who was going overseas. She was effectually prevented, but also wasn't on speaking terms with her family for several weeks. After that, she didn't play around with soldiers anymore, but only a few flat-footed, short-sighted young men in town who couldn't get into the army at all. By the next autumn, she was a gay again, gay as ever. She had a debut with the armistice, and in February she was presumably engaged to a man from New Orleans. In June she married Tom Buchanan of Chicago, with more pomp and circumstance than Louisville ever knew before. He came down with 100 people in 4 private cars and hired a whole floor of Sealback Hotel. And the day before the wedding, he gave her a string of pearls valued at $350,000. I was bridesmaid. I came into her room half an hour before the bridal dinner and found her lying on the bed as lovely as the June night in her flowered dress, and as drunk as a monkey. She had a bottle of Sauterne, and in one hand a letter from the other. "Congratulate me," she muttered. "Never had a drink before, but oh, how do I enjoy it!" What's the matter, Daisy? I was scared, I can tell you. I'd never seen a girl like that before. Here, dearest. She groped around the wastebasket she had with her on the bed and pulled out a string of pearls. Take them downstairs and give them back to whoever they belong to. Tell them all Daisy's changed her mind. Say Daisy's changed her mind. She began to cry. She cried and cried. I rushed out and found her mother's maid, and we locked the door and got into a cold bath. She wouldn't let go of the letter. She took it into the tub with her and squeezed it up into a wet ball, only to let me leave it in the soap dish when she saw she wasn't coming to pieces like snow. But she didn't say another word. She gave her spirits of ammonia and put ice on her forehead and hooked her back into her dress, and half an hour later we walked out of the room with the pearls around her neck, and the incident was over. Next day at 5 o'clock she married Tom Buchanan without so much of a quiver and started off a 3 months trip to the South Seas. I saw them in Santa Barbara. They came back, and I thought I'd never seen a girl so mad about her husband. If he left the room for a minute, she'd look around unevenly and say, "Where's Tom gone?" and wear the most abstracted expression until she saw him coming at the door. She used to sit on the sand with his head in her lap and the hour rubbing her fingers over his eyes and looking at him unfailing delight. It was touching to see them together. It made you laugh in the hushed, fascinated way. That was in August. A week after I left Santa Barbara, Tom ran into a wagon on the Ventura Road one night and ripped a front wheel off his car. The girl who was with him got into the papers too because her arm was broken. She was one of the chambermaids in the Santa Barbara Hotel. The next April, Daisy had her little girl, and they went to France for a year. I saw them one spring in Cannes and later in Deauville, and they came back to the Chicago to settle down. Daisy was popular in Chicago, as you know. They moved fast forward, all of them young and rich and wild. But she came out with an obviously perfect reputation. Perhaps because she doesn't drink. It's great advantage not to drink amongst hard-drinking people. You can hold your tongue, and moreover, you can time your little irregularity of your own that everyone else is so blind to see, or that they don't see or care. Perhaps Daisy never went in for armor at all, and yet there's something in that voice of hers. Well, about 6 weeks ago, she heard the name Gatsby for the first time in years. It was when I asked you, do you remember, if you knew Gatsby in West Egg? After she had gone home, and she came into my room and woke me up, and said, "What Gatsby?" And when I described him, I was half asleep. She said in the strangest voice that it must be the man she used to know. It wasn't until then that I connected Gatsby with the officer in her white car.